Wilfred, did you get paternity leave?
Me, with paternity leave? I really don't understand this stuff about paternity leave. I'm a big no-no about it. I accept that you need to have maternity leave, but the people who come up with these ideas do not understand the consequence that it has with business. If I had to give my people paternity leave, you've got to then get someone in that you've got to train up. It has a massive consequence of business.
But do you not have to give them paternity leave? Is it not a statutory requirement now?
Well, I do, but luckily the people that I employ are not thinking about having a family. I mean, and that'd be a totally different consideration. They tend to be much younger people that I employ. So I've given people maternity leave, but not.
But if they're young and frisky, then that leads to doing what comes naturally. If they do what comes naturally, one morning you're going to go into the farm shop and they're going to say, "Hey, Wilfred, the glad tidings. My other half is expecting," and then what are you going to do? You have to give paternity leave.
Everybody's entitled. I think it's fairer to take it as part of your holiday. So rather than your holiday and this on top, I think that's where the sort of problem lies.
But that's not the same thing at all, is it? That means...
Well, it is, because at the end of the day, if you decide to have children, that is your responsibility. It shouldn't be the state's responsibility. That is what I have a real issue with. And I think these policies have probably come about when people used to have big employers that it would look after their sort of welfare. Yeah. But what it doesn't take into consideration is that lots of these small businesses that, I want to be generous and supportive to my staff, but I don't want things that are then compulsory, because it makes my business, it makes it a lot more difficult.
What about Suzy?
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand. We're in a very difficult economic climate, aren't we, at the moment, for everybody, for businesses, for the government, etc. So I understand that. But there is also all these stats, around the extreme of fatherlessness and the implications of that, i.e., the fathers being present and how important that is in children's lives and in their development, etc. And actually the impact that actually will have on society. So if we go to the extreme, the prison stats, I can't remember what it is, but it's something like 76% of young people that end up in prison don't have a father. Now, I know we're not talking about kids that don't have a father, but what that's showing us is the importance of the presence of the father. And now we go to the middle place, which is dads going off to work and not getting that time with their children. Mm-hmm. That already is having a massive impact on children's lives. And actually, that will be having an impact on society and other things. So I think this is important, because I think we send a message saying, actually, we take it seriously. We value that dads get, as much as mums, that dads get to spend that time with their children, and I think some of the things, this campaign, so I think this story is partly linked to a campaign that's happening in June.
We're going to hear about it right now.
Well, yeah, go for
Joining us right now, interesting you should say that, because here he is.
Here we go.
Is George Gabriel from the Dad Shift. They're organising a strike on June the 11th in an effort to force the government to improve leave for dads or partners of people who've just given birth. George, and I hear you have a 5-week-old baby, so congratulations.
Can we see it?
I do, and you might hear him wailing at some point, in which case I might have to leg it. But
and what was the story for you and paternity leave? Did you take it? Have you already taken it?
So I've got 2 little ones. I've got a 2-year-old and I've got this 5-week-old boy, and I'm on paternity leave at the moment. My employer is very generous and give me a couple of months to kind of bond with my baby, support my wife, and figure out this whole dad business. So yeah, we're in the midst of kind of lots of nappies and sleepless nights, but it's an amazing privilege to get that time with my family. The first time around, when our first one arrived, my wife broke her leg 2 months in. And thank God I had the leave that I could kind of pick up the baby and walk endless laps around the local park with him. So yeah, I feel very grateful for the support I've got, but it's obviously not the case for the vast majority of dads here.
Okay, so you're not striking because of yourself and because you feel you lack the paternity leave. So why are you organising this strike? What's the current state of play for most people, most dads?
So the UK has the worst paternity leave in Europe. We offer dads just 2 weeks on less than half the minimum wage. Now, 2 weeks might work for a nice trip to Spain, but to figure out how to be a father and support your partner if she's, say, recovering from a C-section, it's completely bonkers. Those 2 weeks are paid on less than half the minimum wage. So for the amount of money you get, you can't afford kind of a bog standard pram. And it's just not enough. If you're a self-employed father, you get literally nothing despite paying your taxes. So yeah, we're calling on government to up the offer to working fathers across the country. We know all the evidence points to that being good for mums, good for dads, and good for babies too. So Labour have committed to a review of parental leave policies that will start this summer. And we really hope and expect that the government will take this opportunity to prove it's on the side of working families, working fathers, and support them to get the time they need in those really crucial early months to bond with their
All right.
with
Well,
their
I'm going to
kids.
introduce you to Wilfred. I don't know if you've had the pleasure before, but he's here on the sofa, and he doesn't approve of paternity leave at all. He thinks if a dad wants to take time off, you should jolly well do it out of your holiday, your annual leave, and that it's nobody's responsibility but yours that you've decided to have children, right? I'm paraphrasing you, but that is what you
That's
said.
exactly what I say. And it's why should it be the state's responsibility? I think one of the things we have to take into consideration, the country is almost bankrupt, and therefore we have to work out where we are going to spend the money. We have to get growth in the economy, and therefore we don't have the luxury of enabling new fathers to take time off work, because that money could be spent better elsewhere.
Let's see what George has to say in response. What do you think, George?
I'm 100% with you. It's obviously a challenging financial moment for the country. Good news is there was some research released earlier this week, it's peer-reviewed, that shows that giving dads 6 weeks off at 90% would actually drive £2.6 billion worth of growth in the economy. The evidence is really clear internationally that if you give dads a bit more support, then some women choose to go back to work earlier, they do it more successfully. In the UK, we still have a 14% gender pay gap between men and women when they're doing the same work. Almost all of that is a result of what they call the motherhood penalty, which is a consequence of women taking time off after the arrival of a child and struggling to get back into work. So actually the evidence is pretty robust that if we introduce improved paternity leave, we'll drive growth in the economy. I did also hear your kind of point earlier about small, medium-sized businesses. It's a totally fair one. It's a challenge for businesses to manage the ups and downs of their staff. And I hear you've got a kind of young and vigorous workforce in your neck of the woods. I think what I hear from SMBs is actually they would love, as you said, to be able to offer decent leave, support their families and support their staff at these really, really important moments in life. The challenge is how to make it work. And the truth is, at the moment, because we have such a bad statutory offer from the state, it's only big employers like mine who can afford to give generous paternity leave, and with that benefit from improved productivity, improved loyalty, improved retention and recruitment. So this is actually about leveling the field for SMBs. It's about saying, the state really does need to step in to play its role in supporting families in those early months. And of course, it was my choice and my family's choice. But we try and live in a society where we support people to take responsible decisions. And we recognise there are particular moments of crisis where people can use that support.
I'm just going to read you, George. I just wanted to read you a message from one of our viewers, Helen, who says, dads should not get paternity leave. They'd just be in the way, or they'd use the extra time to go off or spend it with friends, leaving the mum to do everything anyway, as they always do. But Lisa says, I had 2 C-sections and my hubby had 2 weeks off, and the second time round I was in more pain and had 2 others to get ready for school and my mum to look after. If he was off for 5 weeks or so, I would have had much more time to heal. So we've got one person saying absolute waste of time, and it's always the mum that does everything anyway, and your dad can't breastfeed, and what on earth is the point of it all? And somebody else saying, my God, absolutely essential to have my partner at home and couldn't possibly have survived, as you say, cesarean without him. Do you think you're going to get lots of dads out on strike on June the 11th, George?
Yeah, I hope we'll get a decent showing. I think, quietly, there has been a big sea change in public attitudes here over the last kind of 10, 20 years. More and more fathers have said, the thing I want to do is spend a bit more time with my kids. If you speak to most elder men, my dad, people of his generation, all of them, without fail, if you ask what's your biggest regret, they'll say that I didn't get to spend enough time with my kids.
Yeah, well,
so
good to talk to you. Thank you very
much.
much. Go and spend time with your lovely 5-week-old as you're there.